So as we all know, the current state of affairs is a lot of uncertainty, okay? No one knows, okay, the full duration and impact of COVID-19. Nobody knows that, okay? We don't know the impact on the economy, and we don't know the impact on the recovery. And I'm sure many of you heard all those terms of recovery. So we would skip that, but obviously there is a lot of uncertainty and nobody knows and nobody can answer that question. What we do know, the uncertain path to recovery. And if you look at those, what we do know about Q2, as you can see, a major contraction in the economy. Historically, I'm not sure if we have seen such a fast decline in such a short time. So very major impact on our Q2 numbers. The big question is what's going to happen in Q3 and Q4. And again, if you look at that, the different estimates from other different outfits, from Bank of America, Budget Office, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, all the supposedly smart people that are getting, they are basically, their job is to day in and day out and analyze all the data. You see a big variance in their projection for Q2 as well as Q4. So big, from 30% to 4%, okay? No question that there are big uncertainty about the recovery and so on. What's the new normal? We do not know what's the new normal will look like for working, learning, traveling, entertainment, and hospitality. Okay, our entire life is sort of on hold, okay? Will the government extend the unemployment insurance beyond July? Most of you know that the unemployment insurance will expire at the end of July. Nobody knows if the government will renew it, and if they will renew it, will it be the same? One of the big complaints that we heard from many property management in the area that we invest, that the current way that they have structured the unemployment insurance is basically to keep the incentive of a huge amount of people to go back to work, because the unemployment insurance is higher than what they would make while actually working. Another issue is what will happen with the moratorium on foreclosure and evictions. There is different states have different rules, and right now we know that a lot of places are court homes are closed, and there's no eviction. There's a moratorium on it. Nobody knows what's going to happen, whether that will be extended or not. And obviously, there's a huge implication on landlords and so on, whether they can, if you cannot do eviction and you cannot get rent, and you still have to pay your mortgages, and those kind of issues has a snowball effect on many, many different segments of the economy. Will the virus reappear during the coming flu season? A big concern, particularly with the incredible reoccurrence of the COVID-19 infection in Florida, Georgia, Arizona, Texas, California, and so on. Huge unknown. And if the current and the past is indication of how well we manage that, then I'm not very optimistic about the coming flu season. Will the effective vaccine be available? Many other unknowns, okay? And by the way, there's a extended moratorium on foreclosure and forbearance and so on. So there is a lot of unknowns in the current environment. The current state of affairs, what do we know, okay? We know that the economic recovery depends on effective and sustained containment of the COVID-19. There is no question that the biggest factor that they're going to impact our recovery is whether we're going to be the containment of the COVID-19, okay? Number of people who continue to claim unemployment as of July 4th is almost 33 million people, almost 25% of the percentage of the U.S. workforces, an unbelievable number, okay? The good news is that we see that the job, let's claim, is actually dropping, but still a significant one, 1.5 million filed for unemployment. This is updated to as late as the end. It's always a little bit lagging, okay? And if we look at the unemployment rate, which is sort of good news, it dropped from 13.3% to 11%, but still a significant rate of unemployment. Well, we also see that 4.2 million, or almost 4.8% of homes are in forbearance. What is forbearance? Forbearance is where, and it applies only to federal-backed mortgages, okay? Federal-backed mortgages. It's that the federal government allows you to postpone payment, and those payments are being added to the back end of the loan. It's not clear whether, and this is actually there is an expiration on the forbearance until September, end of September this year, and it's not clear whether the government will extend it or not, and if they will, how they're going to pay it. And so there is a lot of uncertainties and unknown how those things are going to behave. And obviously what we're seeing here, those the percentage of by investor type. So we see a significant number, and obviously for March, from almost less than one, everything, if you look here, less than between 0.09 or 0.01 to 0.87, the highest, to incredible number of over 12%. So very significant impact on people who are not able to pay mortgages right now. And obviously, something which is very obviously is the relationship between unemployment, okay, this is unemployment, and delinquency, obviously very closely tied together. Obviously, when people are unemployed, they cannot meet their loan or rent obligation. That is a very clear relationship. And if we look at rental delinquencies, relatively stable, okay, these are rental delinquencies for multiple homes, for apartment building. And we see that delinquencies, surprisingly enough, is relatively stable if we look from April, May, from here. Right now, as of July, it dropped to about 77% who are actually making rent payment. If we look at what actually 32% of U.S. households missed their July housing payment. And when we look about July housing payment, about 19% made no housing payment. And we talk about housing payment, we talk about rent and mortgages, okay? Rent basically are rented, mortgages owner occupied, payment in July. We see that 13% paid only portion of their rent, okay? So we do see it's the first month's increase, okay? 30% to 31%, and so on. So these are very big numbers that obviously will have implication on the real estate market. Renters low, and obviously renters, low income and younger households were the most likely to miss their payment. And by the way, when we are looking at investment in real estate, our target market is the entry-level market. In today's U.S. median house prices, they are roughly between $150,000 to $250,000. That is the kind of target that we have, our sweet spot that we are targeting for many reasons. But anyway, and that is the segment of the market that is currently the most impacted of the coronavirus. We know also that the Fed chairman warned that the prolonged recession, and what is the difference between recession and depression? Depression is a recession is a gradual decline in the economy that occurs over the last 6 months, and we all know that that is not the case. It's a rapid decline. So we are mostly in a depression, but we have not crossed. So the only parameter that is actually missing from actually being in depression is the unemployment rate, which actually dropped to 11%. But obviously we saw a significant decline in GDP, and we've seen that is actually dropping dramatically, okay? And the estimate for Q2 is about 30%. So definitely one parameter we are in depression, the other one we are not yet, and I hope we will not get there. Fed's forward guidance, rates will remain low for the foreseeable future, a very important factor, which makes it home ownership a little more affordable. And for us as investors, if we can now capture those lower interest rates, obviously our cash flow is going to look very good in the future. And the lending market is very transition and for loans that don't conform to Fannie Mae, MAC guidance. Lenders are modifying guidance and requirements for down payment, FICO, income consideration, and sources. Absolutely, we're seeing that banks from Bank of America to Wells Fargo and Chase and so on are constantly modifying their lending requirements and make it tougher and tougher for people to obtain loans, both for buying their owner-occupied home as well as buying investment properties. So everyone should be aware of that. Builder sentiment, which is an interesting actually point. Builder sentiment jumped 21 points to 58. Anything above 50 is good. The largest monthly increase in the National Association of Builder, which is a little bit, to me, a little bit surprising. Okay, because yes, we do not see yet the true impact of COVID-19 a lot of about the market, because we still have a lot of unemployment insurance, and we have the moratorium on foreclosure, we have forbearance, and so on. So we do not see that, and that basically tells me that the builders have not started seeing or the current activity in the market is such that they have not started seeing that. Where we have 32 million people, I do not believe that by the end of the year we're going to have unemployment less than 8 to 10%. And with such an unemployment, and there will be a lot of people that are going to basically be in an unfortunate position where they will not be able to pay the rents, they will not be able to pay the mortgages. And obviously, the question is, the landlord, would they be able to pay the mortgage payment, and the owner? So I do believe that toward the end of this year, where some of those changes, if the government will change it, and I don't believe the government is going to take all of that away because there will be a catastrophe, but nevertheless, there will be enough, in my opinion, numbers that will allow, hopefully, to find some interesting deals out there. There isn't a single market, okay? There isn't a single market. There's multiple market segments. Each one of them behaves differently, and we should be aware of that. And there is a lot of other people who believe that we will have a major correction in the market, and the market would not be able to recover as fast as some people would like us to believe. If we look at the stock market, I have to admit myself, and I'm sure there are many others who don't fully understand the very sharp recovery of the stock market. And there is a lot of speculation on it, but obviously there is a difference between the stock market and the real economy. So this is how I see the current state of affairs of our economy and the implication on the real estate investment market in general. So selecting your real estate team. The other part of your success is obviously depends who are the partners that you're going to decide to work with. And what I want to provide you in this slide is our criteria, how we look at what are the qualities that you should insist that your partners in these endeavors will have. So knowledge, skills and experience, services, team, and so on. Again, I will go over it because we are running a little bit late. I want to go a little bit faster on that, and you have those slides in them. We're going to get a link to that presentation, and these are all the criteria that I suggest very, very important for your success, in a sense, or failure in your real estate investment endeavor. Take your time to understand them. Take your time to check references on the partners you choose. Take your time to learn the market and make sure that you fully understand what you're getting into. And for you to be successful in this endeavor, do your homework, take your time, make sure you select the team that will be on your side and will keep your interest as the guiding principle for every recommendation you're going to be making. Many of our clients are not aware that while the purpose obviously is to find you a home, which is typically the top of the iceberg, there is a lot of the activities and that are taking place below the surface that you might not be aware of, and which will determine your success or failure in this endeavor. So, with all those 40 slides that we went through, I want to share with you my recommendation. Number one, you should start investing in real estate if you define your long-term investment objective and strategy, okay? You are comfortable becoming a landlord. Make sure you go back to those drawbacks of becoming a landlord. You are relatively comfortable with your job security. Very important. Make sure that your job security, you're comfortable in your job security, you're not going to lose your job anytime soon. I know that the job security, nobody knows exactly, but if your company is doing well, if you're performing well, then there's less chances of you losing your job. The reverse is also true. You have the down payment and reserve. You have the down payment and reserve. You don't want to push yourself to the limit, okay? You don't want to make investment which depleting your reserve. God forbid, if you're losing your job, you want to make sure that you can provide for your family and make sure that you don't have to file for bankruptcy or lose your properties. So make sure you have enough reserve before you get into investing in real estate. You have been pre-approved by a reputable lender, and we will be happy to put you in touch with one of them. You have researched your target market. You should monitor your target market for buying opportunities, okay? Look at those markets. What's happening there in vacancies? Are there people who are not able to pay their mortgages? Are there REOs there? Look at opportunities in the target market that you want to go into. You identify a real estate team you can trust to provide you required experience and expertise to support. I cannot but emphasize that point, how important it is. You would not be able to become an expert overnight. So work with someone who have done it many times before, have a proven track record, talk to their referrals, ask them about how they work and so on. You believe in a better tomorrow. Obviously, if you believe in a doom and gloom, then less likely that you will be able to want to make the investment. If you believe that, yes, we're going to eventually and hopefully sooner rather than later be able to put the COVID-19 behind us, and hopefully we will pass the flu season relatively okay, then the sun going to shine tomorrow, and we're going to go back to the growing economy, the growing population, and hopefully our political division also going to subside, and we'll be able to focus on really solving problems. So, something which I said before as well is that investing is a lifelong endeavor. Anything less than that is speculation. But when you are going to consider getting into this in real estate investing, making sure you take your time and it's not an instant gratification, is something that you have to invest for the long term. And you don't buy an investment property for 1 or 2 years. You buy investment property for 10 to 20 years. And you do that with great attention to details and by taking the time and not speculating. Obviously, every time you deal with the future, there's no guarantees, but you can eliminate a lot of those unknowns by doing your homework. So basically, something which I'd like to ask yourself, those who participated, we're going to greatly appreciate your feedback. Please go to the following URL to share with us your feedback. As probably you can imagine, preparing a webinar is a lot of work and effort, and we are constantly trying to make that webinar better and better. So your feedback would be greatly appreciated. So what's the next step? That's our last stop, last slide before the final Q&A. Schedule a personal follow-up meeting to discuss your wants, needs, and cans. Okay. Get pre-approval by a reputable lender, and we'll be happy to help you there. Agree to an exclusive representation agreement. We only work on based on this kind of agreement. As I mentioned earlier, if you're not 100% happy with our service, you always can fire us. It didn't happen so far, and we hope it won't happen in the future. Hopefully, if we're making something which doesn't work or we're not helping you very well, give us your feedback and we can correct. Start searching for your investment property. We have an investor questionnaire that we're trying to fit what you're looking for to your profile. And as I mentioned earlier, to receive a recorded copy of this webinar, please send us a private chat message with your name and email. If you want to, thank you very much for participation. Stay for the follow-up Q&A. We are going to stay for another 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I have an appointment at 4:30, so I have to meet that. So I have another 15 minutes that I can stay. If you have any question, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and please let me know what question you have.